to fall camp, and I remember Miami folks, they were talking about De'Aaron King, but they weren't talking about his legs. They were talking about how much they believed in the ceiling of their passing game. If that's true, because we haven't seen them light it up through the air yet. If that's true, this is the time that they want that to shine. This is the time that they want to kind of pop the top on that, and it fizzes, and all of a sudden you're saying, we knew he could do this, but we didn't know he could do that. And I think there are a lot of pressure points that haven't been tested, much like cracks in a dam on this Clemson team. Everyone's got flaws. Even Clemson's got flaws. Every team's got them every year. The difference with Clemson is rarely is the water pressure applied to the point where you get to see their cracks in the regular season. Miami could be that team with different aspects of this team to apply pressure on those cracks, and we'll see that defensive line. We'll see about depth at wide receiver. We know about quarterback. We know about running back. We'll find out about a lot of other areas of this team Saturday.
Very well said. I know we've kept you a long time today, man, but it's certainly worth it, and we really appreciate the time. For folks who for some reason may have not listened to your broadcast, The Late Kick, explain to people how they can find that and listen to it every day.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, a lot of people just listen to classical radio and watch classical TV, which is cool. I, to be honest, prefer to do that. But if you want to find it, you just go to youtube.com and you search 24/7 Sports, and you find that channel and you subscribe to it. We're live there Sunday night, Tuesday night, Thursday night at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. And you can also search for the Late Kick podcast anywhere you get your podcasts.
I'm telling you, it is really sensational stuff. I remember when JC put me onto this for the first time, and sure am glad he did it. We're glad to have you, Josh. We hope to have you back here pretty soon, my friend. You make our show a lot better, and we really appreciate that.
Always a pleasure, guys. I appreciate it.
You got it, man. There you go. Josh Pate joining us on Twitter at Late Kick Josh, the Late Kick podcast. With Josh Pate. He, like I said, he is sensational. That was really good stuff there. That little points thing he did. I don't know the math he does to get all this stuff done, but he's pretty good.
He breaks stuff down differently than a lot of people, and you can hear it in his voice, and you can hear it in how he goes about stuff, and then how he reaches his conclusions is then really understandable and succinct. You can follow the logic, and to be able to do both, to be able to have some weird formula that you use, then explain it and have everyone just follow along seamlessly, those are two skill sets that he blends into one.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, no doubt. 12:38 here on a Tuesday afternoon. It is October the 6th. It is time for a timeout. When we return, we'll give you an update from Columbia. Will Muschamp currently speaking with the media. We've got a couple of notes to get out to you there. Also, an interesting name floating around for the new Texans job. Might have heard, might have not, but hang tight. Perry Orth, Gene Sapkoff also ahead today, so hang tight. The JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. We'll be right back.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. Every 2020 Tiguan S, our best-selling third-row SUV, is $3,500 off plus 0 APR for 72 months. But wait, there's more. With $299 down, you can own the Tiguan S for just $299 per month for 72 months at 0% APR. Not just one at this price, over 22 Tiguans to choose from. All $3,500 off plus 0 APR for 72 months and $299 down, $299 per month. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, we are so desperate for used cars that we'll take any trade in any condition, running or not. We need your trade more, so we'll flat out give you more. And don't worry about your credit. Our lenders are more lenient than ever. So if you're interested in saving $3,500 on a new Volkswagen Tiguan S and owning it for $299 down, $299 per month, come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or StokesVW.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Plus tax tag includes $399.50 closing fee. Offer subject to lender approval. Expires month end.
The best cheesesteak in Charleston is at DB's Cheesesteaks. JB here. We say it every day, and we mean it. You voted for them. Let DB's Cheesesteaks in Avondale and West Ashley feed your family this football season. Use your favorite delivery app. Have them dropped off before your favorite game. And don't forget the boardwalk fries. They come with the Old Bay seasoning. DB'sCheesesteaks.com for the full menu. Hoagies, hot dogs, burgers, and more. DB's Cheesesteaks, the best cheesesteak in Charleston, the best cheesesteak for football.
Hey guys, it's Darren, just here to tell you about our good friends over at Dog and Duck. They've got 3 locations, one in Bell Hall, one in Park West, and one, the new one, out on Clements Ferry. I can tell you from personal experience, it's the only restaurant in town that I've been to since this whole place has reopened. Everything is socially distant, very comfortable, and to top it all off, great selection of rotating craft beers, food specials every day, family meals. If you don't want to go in, you can order it and have some curbside pickup as well. Dog and Duck, 3 locations, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
The JB and Goldwater Show.
That's us. Because we play this.
And there are these guys in a band on stage bouncing on trampolines, and one of them is playing a vacuum cleaner on his face. It was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. This band was going for it as hard as they could. I've never seen anything like it. And I said to the bartender, I said, who is this band? Oh, this is a band from New Hampshire called Fish.
The Blue Dogs bringing us back. Not blue skies today in the low country in South Carolina. 12:42 here on a Tuesday afternoon. Thanks to Josh Pate in that last segment.
I got to add this song to my playlist, man.
That's
I mean,
good.
I play that bump solely for the purpose of hearing that song at the end of it.
It's a great song.
It is.
It's a great song. Blue Dogs and Bobby Howard. It's a great group of people.
Yeah.
Perry Orth at 1, Gene Saplikoff at 1:30. 843-321-8893. That's our phone number. Listen for free, Podbean app. Watch for free, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope. All of that available on our website, jbandgoldwatershow.com. Darren. Will Muschamp meeting with the media right now, and a couple of quick updates from Columbia. His thoughts basically so far on what has happened the last couple of weeks, and haven't really gotten to Vanderbilt a whole lot yet, but he has pointed out the explosive plays. Actually, he said that they've given up 10 explosive plays in 2 games, and that's way too many. They've gone back and looked at each a lot over the last 48 hours, and they've got to do a better job of keeping the ball off the receiver. I think we all know that. They also only have 1 pick this year. He points that out and says they need to continue to get their hands on more passes. Giving up 8 yards per pass attempt is incredibly too high. Needs to be 5 or less. And so here's the thing. Like, I'm not going to read the transcript of what's going on right now, but this is where South Carolina fans continue to be frustrated, because we hear a lot of this every week, and it's okay. Like, I get it. I understand the frustration. You are being told what needs to be fixed, and you watch the game and it's not fixed, and you wonder, okay, how many times can we continue to say this? And so, that's when you see stuff like that, it's like, yeah, well, we knew that last week, but we saw it again.
And some of the stuff that needs to be fixed, I trust they're working on it in practice, but then you see it out on the field, and you're like, oh, we need certain guys to get more touches. They're not on the field. So how are you going to get them more touches if you're not putting them on the field?
Here's the thing, and Will said on Saturday night, or on Sunday evening, that he's not going to address the injury report anymore this year, which I disagree with, but I disagree with it for one reason. I don't disagree with it because I'm a media member and I have to know who's hurt and things like that. I think it would be more beneficial for people to know who's injured and who's not playing, because that's actually a little bit better for the coaching staff. I mean, if you look out there and you don't see a guy or two and you wonder why are they not playing, if they're on an injured list, then that gives you reason to understand why they're not playing. If they're not listed on the injury list or the injury report, then you just wonder, well, why are they not playing this guy? Why are they not playing that guy? It's almost more cover for the coaching staff to say, well, this guy's not available this game. Now, I get it if there's parents who don't want you to release COVID information. I totally understand that. That's okay. I'm not going to argue with parents or anything. No, I get that. I totally get that. But from an injury standpoint itself, if you've got a guy with a banged up knee or a bruised shoulder or whatever it might be, and you're not gonna let people know about that, and they look out there and wonder why, Ernest Jones or something isn't on the field. He's not hurt, guys. He's playing, but if you didn't see your starting linebacker, you're starting to wonder, well, why is he not playing? Or why is this guy not playing? Why is Luke Doty not playing? Why is Jordan Birch not playing? So I feel like he should probably be a little bit more transparent about that, but he's not going to do so. Continues to say that what has held this team back has been self-inflicted wounds, needing to stay on the field and sustain drives without turning it over or going 3 and out offensively, and then defensively there's explosive plays. Well, that is right back into the conversation that we had yesterday, and I'm glad that he says that, but at the same time, it's like, okay, well, maybe we can get some of that fixed, or maybe they're just not good enough to fix it. But that was my whole point is, look, there was a real chance that South Carolina could start the game start the season 0-2.
Right.
There was a real chance they could start at 1-1. It was much less chance they could start the year 2-0. And we all knew that. We all knew it'd be the shocker of shockers to start 2-0. It would probably fit the mold to be 1-1, and it'd be disappointing to start 0-2. But you could live with it if you're getting beat by teams that are better than you. And Florida is better than South Carolina. I don't know that anybody's prepared to say that yet with Tennessee. So I say all that to say this. It's how they're losing the games that has people frustrated. And when it's self-inflicted wounds every single week, that's where people are like, wait a second, this is year 5. Like, if there's a pass that's dropped there, think about this for a second. Let me simplify this. Think about it for a second. It doesn't matter who you pull for. You could be a fan of the Washington former Redskins or South Carolina or Central Florida. It doesn't matter. When a guy drops a pass, you should go, oh, son of a dang.
You should be upset.
Like, oh, man, he never drops passes. But when a guy drops a pass right now in South Carolina, the response is, here we go again.
Yeah.
It's par for the course. And that should not be the response from anybody watching the game. I don't put the fans aside. The coaches, the administrators, their teammates, they shouldn't have to look on the field and go, golly, we just can't catch the football. You're in college. Catch the ball. And so, like, those are the little things that people are like, that's why it's disappointing. If you drop one here and there, make a stupid penalty here and there, whatever it may be, so it's more understandable. It's football. Those things are going to happen. But the consistency of them in Columbia, that's what's deflating.
Remember, before the year, we're trying to figure out, how do you define progress? We were, as Josh Pate said moments ago here, early on when all this COVID stuff's happening, the general consensus was, well, no one's going to get fired. It's impossible. Not in this day and age. But we got to the point of having the discussion of, well, how do you define progress? Because this team has to see progress. And if it's not going to be in wins and losses, because we know how hard the schedule is, how do you define progress? And we agreed that progress is defined by really watching the games, watching how the team, progresses, how they improve, how they are fixing certain issues that not just were popping up in years past, but let's focus on this year right now, just for the sake of this argument. And how do you improve as you go along? How do you tighten things up? And if that's how we're going to define progress, well, this team's not making any progress.
Right.
Because the things that went wrong against Tennessee went wrong again against Florida. You can go back to last year and say, well, we were having some of those issues too. And what's going on with this defense? How come they can't suddenly tackle? And if you want to sit there and say, well, the schedule's impossible, and I understand that, but how can I grade the team, the staff, the progress? Well, that's how you have to grade it. And right now that grade is not good at all.
It's not. It's not good. And, from the defensive side, and this is kind of what I was getting at with Josh here, like, a good defense is just a good defense. It doesn't matter who's on the schedule. You might have a bad game every once in a while, or you might have a mismatch. That's going to happen against good defenses. But good defenses are just flat out good defenses. They don't miss a lot of tackles. They force turnovers. They get to the quarterback. They win the lines of scrimmage. That has not been the case. And I do think that they've recruited enough talent over there to be a good defense. You've got 2 potential first-round picks in the secondary right now, and Izzy McQuamu, who, by the way, played a ton of safety last week because Muschamp just said a little bit ago it was because of his groin injury. He wasn't 100%, so they backed him up there, started Johnny Dixon at corner. And they might do it again this week. We'll see what that looks like. And I thought Johnny Dixon played well. He got a garbage penalty thrown on him, by the way, on that pass interference towards the Florida goal line. That was ridiculous. But back to, my point is with the defense, you should consistently be a good defense. It doesn't matter what the schedule says. Alabama every year plays offenses that can score, but their defense is just better. And good defenses make good offenses worse, not better. And so, that's been a disappointment. I think that's more disappointing for me than the offense. Like, we knew the offense when you hired Will Muschamp, you knew it was going to be a work in progress. Now, people were hoping it wouldn't be a 4 or 5 year work in progress, but you knew it would be a work in progress. And you also knew that when you hired Mike Bobo that to start the season, they would have to kind of bring things along with a new starting quarterback and a new system. And hopefully by the middle of the year, they'd start to click and you'd feel much better about this thing. And I do think from week 1 to week 2, they actually looked better down there in the swamp this week. There are some things that certainly need to be cleaned up. Most importantly, it's really the drops. I thought the play calling was good and Colin was good and Kevin Harris was great and things like that. But But that defense, unfortunately, they're in a position where they have to put it on their shoulders. And they haven't done it. And so why is that? Is that Muschamp? Is it T-Rob? Is it both of them? Is it, is it Tracy Rocker? Is it a collective? I don't know what the answer is. And nobody knows, and everybody's, pretty disappointed in that. And it's okay to be disappointed. I would like to think the coaches are more disappointed than the fans are. But they also need to look in the mirror and figure out what they need to do to fix this, because you're not going to win in this league without a good defense. You're just not. I mean, I know LSU scored a ton of points last year, but they're also really good on defense. So that has been underwhelming is an understatement. Disappointing is maybe much more on par with the way this defense is played, and it has to get fixed. And I'll say this too, Darren. This is like, if you've ever driven in the mountains before, this is what it feels like to be right now on the South Carolina wagon or riding in the passenger seat of the South Carolina car. This is exactly what it feels like. If you've ever been in the mountains and you're going uphill and you're wondering, my God, when are we going to get to the top of this thing where we can get some momentum coming back down? Because the engine's working overtime here, and I'm starting to get frustrated. These trucks in the right-hand lane are slowing me down. You know what I mean? That frustrating feeling, that's exactly what it feels like. They need that. They need the backside of the mountain where you can start to move a little faster and get some momentum and pass somebody on the interstate here and there. And this team needs momentum. And you don't get momentum unless you win games. And they need to win games, and it needs to start this week.
Love the analogy. When you're pushing down that gas pedal and all you see is the RPMs rev it up and your car's not moving anywhere.
And you're wondering what's going on here.
Right. I'm pushing the pedal. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. And you want the coaching staff to not be in that position. It's okay for the fans to say, okay, I feel as though this is what's happening. But if you're the coaching staff and you're pushing that pedal and that's the sense you're getting, then change something. Something has to be done differently, whether it's how you're practicing, whether it's the message you're delivering the team, whether you just need a different mentality overall. I don't know what it is. But if the person driving that car is getting that sense, then it is up to the person driving that car to make sure that the pedal responds the way it's supposed to respond. If you're the passenger, okay, you're along for the ride. If you're driving it, if you're Will Muschamp, it's your job to figure out how to make that car go.
That's right. And sometimes it's and I know, again, we're only 8 quarters into the season, but sometimes, you have to make a change or two that maybe you might have not made until later on. You might just have to just pull a different string. Maybe you're substituting a different guy in there. You're playing somebody you weren't expecting to play yet because you think they can provide something you haven't had. I don't know. I mean, again, it's pretty simple to go back, and we've all seen it. Clean up the mistakes. But we keep hearing that every week, and they're not really. It's not that clean. It's still a pretty dirty floor. So hopefully this is the perfect week to kind of put it together. Like, all right, let's regroup. We are much better than Vanderbilt. Nobody can even try to make an argument with me about, well, Vanderbilt's a little bit better here. No, they're not. They're not in any position group. They're not better than South Carolina. This should not be an issue. This should be a 31-7 game. I mean, this should be a blowout for Carolina where at least you get 24 hours to feel really good about yourselves before you start preparing for Auburn. And then that leads me to this point. We've seen the SEC this year, right?
Yep.
Look at the rest of this schedule. And I know when you look at the rankings and things like that, you go, oh, gosh. But hold on. And I know we've seen South Carolina, so don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to blow smoke here. I'm just talking just this simple. Vanderbilt, Auburn, at LSU, A&M at home, at Ole Miss, Missouri, Georgia, at Kentucky. Which one of those teams isn't beatable? None of them. They're all beatable.
They're beatable.
And that's what. But hold on. You don't have Alabama. You've already played Florida. Okay, I'll be honest with you. You want to know the game that scares me the most out of all of them? At Ole Miss. Honestly, you don't know what you're going to get out of Auburn. You don't know what you're going to get out of Texas A&M, and that game's at home. LSU, I think I would like to think they will put it together by October the 24th, but who knows? I mean, it's totally different down there than it was Missouri, you beat Georgia last year, and they come to your house, and if they're not clicking offensively, you've got a chance. Kentucky's 0-2 to start. Now, again, I'm not trying to be – guys, look, they can still win. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is they have opportunity there. If they can find some momentum and get rolling downhill, they can beat some of these teams. I mean, they could have beat Tennessee and should have. They could have been much closer in that Florida game than 14 points. They can do it. But where is that spark in order to get that done?
So Vanderbilt, I'm going to start there. Is it a 31-7 game?
Probably not.
No, when maybe before the year started, you could look at it and say that. But right now, the Gamecocks need to find a way to win. This game might not be pretty. It might be gross. But if you can find a way to win, and like going back to your conversation from last week, does this team know how to win?
They don't.
Right. So find a way to win. Make that step one. Don't worry about blowing out Vanderbilt. Just worry about going there and beating Vanderbilt. Beat them. Take some positives out of it. Get back into practice the following week and into film studies and realize what you did better than previous weeks in order to win that game. And then you build off that. Then you get to some of the other teams. Are they beatable? Yeah. Is Auburn beatable? Yes. They're beatable right now. Georgia shut them down. Is Georgia beatable? Yeah. I mean, Stetson Bennett isn't going to be, I don't know, Trevor Lawrence all year, I don't think, but maybe he is. No, yeah. Right? You don't know what you're going to get from Kentucky, but right now, you do know what you're getting from the Gamecocks.
Right.
And what you're getting right now has to change.
It has to,
because all the other teams are looking at the Gamecocks and saying, you know what? It might be hard to figure out LSU right now. It might be hard to figure out Florida. It might be hard to figure out Auburn. I've figured out Carolina, and here's what's going on. They have one receiver. We're going to make sure that guy doesn't beat us, even if he gets 15 catches. Mm-hmm. He's not going to be the reason we lose. So we know that about South Carolina. We know their defense just isn't tackling. No. For whatever reason, they're not tackling, and they're not formidable, and they're not intimidating in any way to go up against. So we can design a game plan to go up against that. And until the Gamecocks change their own mindset, they're not going to be changing the mindset of the teams they're playing. And those teams are coming in believing that they can just walk the dog.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, when I say every team left on this schedule is beatable, every team left on this schedule is also capable of beating South Carolina. I mean, that's how I mean, that's how fragile this thing is here. And that was my whole point of that whole uphill climb when you're driving in the mountains and just trying to get to the top so you can come back down the other side of the hill there. That's where they need to get and try to get some momentum and correct this ship before you get to the second half of the year where you do have a couple more winnable games maybe based on what we've kind of seen thus far. But just beat Vanderbilt. Start there. Perry Orth might have the answer to how to do that. He'll join us next year on our program. So hang tight. The JB and Goldwater Show, Hour 1 in the books. Hour 2 coming up next. The best cheesesteak in Charleston is at DB's Cheesesteaks. JB here. We say it every day, and we mean it. You voted for him. Let DB's Cheesesteaks in Avondale and West Ashley feed your family this football season. Use your favorite delivery app. Have them dropped off before your favorite game. And don't forget the boardwalk fries. They come with the Old Bay seasoning. DB'sCheesesteaks.com for the full menu. Hoagies, hot dogs, burgers, and more. DB's Cheesesteaks, the best cheesesteak in Charleston, the best cheesesteak for football.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
Hey guys, it's Darren, just here to tell you about our good friends over at Dog and Duck. They've got 3 locations, one in Bell Hall, one in Park West, and one, the new one, out on Clements Ferry. I can tell you from personal experience, it's the only restaurant in town that I've been to since this whole place has reopened. Everything is socially distant, very comfortable, and to top it all off, great selection of rotating craft beers, food specials every day, family meals. If you don't want to go in, you can order it and have some curbside pickup as well. Dog and Duck, 3 locations, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back 9 is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Flamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
All right, 103, Hour 2. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show. Driven by Stokes Volkswagen, live, loud, and online. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope. That's where you watch, and on the Podbean app, that's where you listen. It's all free, jbandgoldwatershow.com. Back to the phone lines we go. Guest number 2 of the day is former quarterback Perry Orth. What's up, man?
What up, brother? How are you?
Oh, we're hanging in there. Just hoping that this gloomy weather gets out of here at some point. Maybe we could get a nick or two of sunshine before the rain sets in this weekend, but we'll see.
A nick or two, huh?
Oh, y'all got bad weather down there.
Yeah, it rained this morning, and it's I guess maybe supposed to rain later today. I don't know, Perry.
That's brutal. There's about 2 clouds in the sky up here in beautiful Columbia, man. You guys are missing out.
Yeah, I know.
Apparently, Nashville's a beautiful day, too. We were just talking with Josh Payton. He's like, I don't see a cloud.
Yeah, not a cloud in Nashville. There's going to be a bunch of clouds here by the time the weekend gets here, though. I know that. Raindrops will be coming with them. All right, Perry, another loss for South Carolina on the road in the Swamp, a place you know. 38-24, the final score. I do want to start with you. Obviously, we'll talk about the Vanderbilt game and things like that, but I want to go. You were a quarterback. You ran 2-minute offenses at South Carolina. They had 8 minutes to try to run, and they didn't have to run a 2-minute offense, but they had 8 minutes to try to score 2 touchdowns at the end of the game and tie it. There's no guarantees that would have happened. But let's go back to that final drive. Just give me your take on how it was handled by South Carolina. And I guess what I've been more focused on than anything is not the play calling. I think Coach Muschamp has misunderstood some people. People aren't frustrated with the play calls. It's the sense of urgency between snaps, at least in my opinion. So what is your take on that final drive?
A beautiful drive if it wasn't down by 2 touchdowns and 8 minutes left in the game. I mean, it's exactly what you want. We looked just like we did on the opening drive.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, man, that's the thing is what you're saying is exactly right. And you got to play with a sense of urgency. It doesn't mean you have to take shots down the field, but there does have to be a pep in your step. I mean, there were 4 or 5 plays where the play clock was run down to the waning, seconds. So that's been that left a lot of us scratching our head. I mean, we're just smarter than that. I mean, surely we are. I mean, I know Coach Muschamp's a smart guy. I know he's got great qualities of a coach, and they've been in the game for forever. I'm not sure what happened. I wish I could elaborate more on it, but somebody dropped the ball somewhere. And it just, unfortunately, when you're on a big time stage, that's just inexcusable. And when now that I'm getting into my own career, I like to think of the same thing of if I've got a client that's requesting a quote by a certain day and I just completely disregard to get it done by that day, right? I have this time frame I've got to meet a window in. And if I don't do it, I don't get the account. So whose fault is that? Well, that's mine. And that's kind of where all of us South Carolina fans are with what happened on Saturday.
What were you thinking, okay, when they got the ball back with 8 minutes and 2 seconds, and we know what the score was. It was 38-24. Perry, the situation was South Carolina was going to have to score, kick off, hold Florida, and they did have 2 timeouts, and then they were going to have to get the ball back and score again. So, put yourself – you coach now over at AC Flora. I mean, you played college football for the Gamecocks. Take your mind into that moment. You got 8 minutes to go. You're down 2 touchdowns. What is the timeline? Like, what does that timeline feel like to you? When do they need to score by? How do things need to unfold?
Yeah, in my opinion, obviously it's a lot easier when, you're doing the armchair quarterback thing. But that being said, that's the position I'm in right now. So 5 minutes left in the game, that's when your ears should perk up and be like, all right, let's get this thing in hyperdrive. Not rushing plays and doing stupid stuff, but hey, 5 minutes left in the game, 2 scores. It's 2 minute period. It's as we used to call it. It's our jet. Our up tempo offense, our 2 minute offense. When they signaled in, hey, we're going jet tempo here. That meant we're getting up to the ball and snapping it and playing football. And we get a 5-yard completion or a 3-yard gain, we're up at the line ready to go again. And I don't know why we didn't do that. Like I said, with 2 possessions, 5 minutes, I think we had the ball at midfield at that point. Right there, with an upbeat tempo, you could score within the next 2 minutes, right? So you go down and score with 3 minutes left and 2 timeouts, kick the ball off, stop them on downs, get the ball back with, a minute and some change left, and go and try to win the game, down by another score. So that's really all you could do. I just don't know, so if Colin Hill hits Shi Smith for a touchdown there, that's great. But did we have any we still had 2 timeouts, didn't we?
Yeah, still had 2 timeouts.
So you go down and you score, and now there's a minute left. So were we banking on the fact that we had 2 timeouts and that we were going to go and get an onside kick? Because stopping them on downs is a heck of a lot easier, and there's got to be a higher percentage of doing that than getting an onside kick, right? I don't know the exact facts, but I've watched and played football for a long time, and I've seen a lot more stops on downs than I have onside kick recovered by the kickoff team. So that's how I thought it was being played out. I thought, at first I was kind of like, this isn't bad, but you'd like to see a little bit more of a sense of urgency. Then once it got inside of 4 minutes and we were still doing it, I was like, what in the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
It was a head scratcher, man. And that's the thing that it's going to leave a lot of questions, especially now you look to Saturday's game and you want to talk about a turning point in the season. It's crazy because we just started and, with COVID and everything going on, it's kind of a weird year and kind of awkward. And it just kind of feels like the season really did just start. But now do or die. You go out and you lose Saturday and you could basically, the season's done. Because you can't expect to go out and beat A&M, Auburn, LSU, Georgia, Kentucky. You can't expect to go out and beat those teams, if you go out and you drop the ball versus Vanderbilt and go 0-3.
What was the most disappointing part of that game for you, Perry? Because it sounds as though you're thinking, all right, we're getting the ball back here, and if we can, we're in an okay position here. If we can get this drive going, we get the tempo going. So it sounds like the disappointment level up to that point wasn't that high, but then because of that drive, kind of the emotions overflowed. Was it the drive that was most disappointing at the end of the game? Was it the drop passes? Was it the defense? What was it?
I'll go number one, drop passes. I mean, that's just inexcusable to have that many in one game. I mean, I could see over the course of 3 and being like, got to make sure we're catching the football. But 7 drops, it was like 7 3/4. There was one drive, I think there was 3 in a row, where it was just like, what the hell are we doing? And I don't know how I would handle that as a quarterback. I know as a coach, a drive like that, you pull them off the side and say, hey guys, shake it off. Inexcusable, but let's lock in and get after it. But then you got a couple more later on, and then a couple more in the second half. And it was like, God, I mean, is it just a lack of focus, or these kids need to be playing defensive back? And it's not a knock on them. I mean, listen, it is what it is. I mean, you gotta make plays. I mean, you're getting your school paid for to do that. And mistakes are going to happen, but to have that, and then I just don't think the defense is all that special. I really don't. I wish I disagreed with myself right now, but what have we seen in the first 2? We gave up, I guess we only gave up 24 points technically defensively to Tennessee, but then, in my opinion, Florida really pumped the brakes back. Once they hit 38, the tempo of their offense slowed down, and who knows? I mean, they could have potentially scored 50 if they wanted to keep the tempo going. So, just a lot of question marks. Listen, I'm always going to support whatever coaching staff we have, and I'm always going to support the players and cheer them on. But as somebody who's talking publicly about it, you definitely raised some concerns about, the drop passes and to be honest, the lack of defense, and then the end of game management. There's not one person to blame. Of course, it's easy to blame the head coach, but there's other coaches that, could say, hey, we should probably pick up the tempo here.
Well,
so.
And Perry, former quarterback Perry Orth here, 113 on this Tuesday afternoon. We'll get to the defense in a second because I can't agree with you anymore on that. This is year 5 under Coach Muschamp. I'm quite sure that when he was hired and you were still on the team there, you probably thought to yourself, "Damn, this defense is going to be good here in a couple of years." Well, we'll come back to that. But let's talk about these drop passes, Perry. I said earlier to Darren here. I said, look, a drop pass. It should be your reaction to a drop pass should be, "Oh, you got to be kidding me! Dang!" Not "Here we go again," or "God, we just can't catch the football." And
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, a drop pass should happen every once in a while. They've all done it. Alshon dropped one here and there. Sidney Rice dropped one here and there. Kenny McKinley dropped one here and there. Debo dropped one here and there. Brian Edwards dropped one here. They're all going to drop one. It's going to happen. Mistakes happen in every sport. It's going to happen, especially a wide receiver. You get enough of them, you're going to drop one here and there. But, Perry, how does that happen, right? You take your eyes off of it and look downfield too fast or something. Something just, and something effort-wise generally is why you drop it. But for a team who's consistently had the problems, the first 2 games of this year, they had them last year, they had them the year before, why can they – what is it? Like, are you just not good? Because if you can't catch, you can't play college football. I mean, why is it a consistent issue in Columbia that you can't catch the football?
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, what do they do? Like, what do you do in practice to work on I know we were on the jugs machine 100 times the other day. Well, that doesn't work, obviously. So what else do you do?
Yeah, I mean, you can take a bunch of quantity-style reps. I can throw a ball 150 times, but if I'm not throwing the ball the right way, it ain't going to do me any good, right? So with catching the football, if you're not catching the football and tucking it into your right and your left arm and angling yourself to make different style catches and, catching the ball like you're coming across the field to the right, to the left, over your shoulder, all of the different catches that you have to make, working on contested catches. All of those you should be practicing, pretty much daily, during the season. I mean, every coach and every football program in the entire country, whether it's college, high school, Pop Warner, NFL, doesn't matter. They take at least 15 or 20 minutes every practice to work on what we call fundies, fundamental period, right? Individual period, where you are working with your position group, working on fundamentals of your position. So receiver, there's 2 things that you work on. Really, you spend the majority of your time working on, I should say. That's not the only thing, but you work on your route running and you work on catching. You'll spend some time blocking. and doing other things like that. But all in all, I mean, that's really what you work on. I know they're working on it. I don't know if these kids are nervous. I don't know what the deal is, but it's like the example of, as a quarterback, if you go out and you make a poor throw, that's going to happen. If every quarterback is going, more times than not, is going to have a poor throw during the course of a football game. They're even going to have maybe 4 or 5 of them if you throw it enough times. Now, you start having 10 to 12 poor throws, you have 7 really bad throws where you airmail balls or you're skipping balls into the dirt. People are going to look around and be like, what the hell is going on with this guy today, And that's kind of the equivalent of a receiver. So how it gets fixed, you get them on the jugs machine, you make them catch and tuck in both arms, you get them different angle catches. There's a lot that you can do. It's being intentional about the drills that you're doing while you're doing them. If you got to slow down practice so they get quality reps, so be it, right? With my quarterbacks at AC Flora, every day, whether I'm doing AC Flora or QB1, we start every practice with, as Coach Spurrier called it, form throw. Because if you can't throw the ball properly and you don't throw it the right way, you do all the footwork drills you want, but it's not going to do you any good. So getting back really, truly to the fundamentals of the game or your position is what we, especially at receiver, need to get to.
Well, I tell you what, that can translate to the defense as well, Perry, because I'm with you. I just don't think they've been that good. I mean, I understand. When you go back the last 4 games, okay, 2 this year, the 2 that ended last year, I know the offenses that they played. All right, so they had A&M, they had Clemson. Everybody knows what Clemson's all about on offense. Clearly, Florida is a very talented offense, maybe the second best in the league, but I would say probably behind Bama, if not first. Who knows? They might see each other at the end of the year. We'll figure that out then. But, Tennessee, A&M, average at best offenses. Carolina's given up over 30 points in all those games. And, if you would tell me that late in year 4, early in year 5, a Will Muschamp team is consistently giving up over 30 on defense, I would have laughed at you when he got hired. No chance in hell. I mean, this guy knows how to recruit kids to play on that side of the football. They know how to develop kids. All you have to do is look in the NFL. They're everywhere. But clearly there's a problem. I mean, even when you play good offenses, right, Perry? Even when you play good offenses, good defenses find a way to stimulate that. They find a way to stop it. And they haven't been able to do that. I know you can look at the yardage. Florida only had 350 yards of offense. Yeah, well, they had 38 points too. So, I mean, they held Tennessee to 1 of 12 on 3rd downs in the opening week. That's a great number. They also gave up 24 points, which was too much. I mean, this defense, is it a want to? Is it a lack of talent? Is it a lack of development? I don't think anybody knows the answer, but what is your take?
Yeah, I mean, it's now to the point, and we have good players, and I don't even know, I can't speak on behalf of anything being poorly, poor coaching or poorly executed. It just, something's not working. Something isn't working like you would expect, and maybe we're really not getting the players that we think as a fan base that we are. Maybe we are getting above average players. And if that's the case, then we don't need to be expecting above average results if that's, where we're at. And that's completely fine. But what we would want to see, and this goes for anybody, you want to see progression. It's like, I know I always relate things to my mind, but I'm able to explain it better when I do that. With a quarterback, you want to see from freshman to sophomore to junior, and junior to senior. You want to see there being growth and signs of development and positivity towards the future, right? Same thing you'd want to see on a defense or a program. You want to see steps taken forward, and I think that after that second year, the 2017 season, our defense has regressed. Now, we can say the last 2 years because of injuries, but nonetheless, it has. And whatever we want to point the finger at, we can, but it hadn't gotten much better. And listen, they could fix and turn the ship right now and have a great year, and I hope that's the case. But up to this point, I just haven't seen, and we really haven't seen true progression of the defense.
Perry Orth on Twitter at PerryOrth10, QB1 Athletics. Also, he can train you to be a quarterback. We'll tell you more about that in a minute, but QB1Athletics.com is where you can find him there, and we'll tell you what he can do for you in the insurance field as well. Speaking of quarterbacks, assess Colin Hill through 2 games.
Kid's a stud, man. I mean, if you're not impressed with that kid, you got too high expectations. He goes out there, puts the ball on the money. Not perfect every time, but he's getting the crap beat out of him. I don't think they're protecting him very well, and he continues to get up. You know, he's battled obviously through 3 major knee injuries. Florida teed off on him on Saturday, and he continued to get up and put the ball on the money. He made, in my opinion, one really bad throw, which unfortunately was that very last throw to Shy. And he'd tell you right now, if he was on this station, that was uncharacteristic and that he's made those throws 10 trillion times in his life. Guy's 10 yards in front of him, slight jog to the right, Shy's wide open. I mean, he could have thrown it to him left-handed on a normal day, and he just made a bad throw. But that comes with the position. But all in all, I think he was 24. I don't have the stats. I had him in front of me this morning. He ended with over 200 yards again in the swamp versus the number 3 team in the country with 7 drop passes. So all in all, pretty solid performance in my opinion.
Look, if the coaches have made some mistakes thus far, if people want to go back that far and say that, which I think there's a lot of people that do, that's fine. They can be criticized for many of the decisions they've made, but one they didn't make was starting Colin Hill. No. He has clearly been the best quarterback on this team in the first 2 games. It's obvious why he won the job. 28 of 47, Perry, is what he was, and like you said, had even 5 or 6 of those been completed, you're talking about 33, 34 of 47 for 250, 260 yards down there. It would have been another just fantastic day, and who knows how many more points it would have put on the board. But, again, that's 2 weeks in a row where he's got probably somewhere around 10 drop passes, or his numbers would be even much more spectacular than they've been to this point. Now they've got Vanderbilt, and you just mentioned a moment ago it's time to go. It's time to get rolling. It's time to get some momentum. Perry, this is a team that they're better than at every position group, period, the end, every one of them. And I think they're favorites, 12, 13-point favorites on the road here. Could be a sloppy day in Nashville. We'll see what this Hurricane Delta looks like by the time it gets there. But, what is, as you go through this week as a player, and you started the year the way you have, 0-2, what do you think is going on in that locker room, and what do you anticipate seeing from this football team on Saturday up in Nashville, Tennessee?
I mean, they're going to play hard and they're going to fight. I just hope that the confidence is high to the point of where they're not, moving in slow motion or having a game like they did versus Virginia a couple of years ago. This is a must-win game. You cannot afford to lose this game if you want to have even the last bit of a constructive season. Because then, who do you have coming up down the pipe? You got Auburn, I know. You got Texas A&M coming up.
At LSU.
Georgia. Oh, yeah, I keep forgetting that. At LSU.
Yeah, don't forget that one.
That easy one.
Yeah, so you've got 3 teams from the West that are not exactly a pushover or even a toss-up for that matter. So you better win this one, because you lose and then you go on that 3-game stretch and you're potentially looking at, I don't even want to say 0-6, but you're looking at 0-6, and you would talk about the wheels coming off the wagon.
Oh.
It'd get ugly here in Columbia. I was talking about this nice weather day. It wouldn't really matter at that point. So we got to win, get some confidence, and then, maybe go shock Auburn or shock an A&M or something like that. So this is a must-win. It's a must-win, probably the most important game of Coach Muschamp's career so far.
I would agree with that.
I agree.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think 0-6 the wheels would be off the wagon. I think they'd fall off quickly with a loss in Nashville. They might fall off the plane before they get on it to come home. If there is a bunch of weather up there, how do you see this? We saw Kevin Harris really run the football well last week, Perry. I mean, you had to be impressed with this kid. He made a lot of yards on his own. He spun off a few tackles, broke some others. He was really good, making that first guy miss, quick step to get on the outside there. Kevin Harris, your thoughts maybe on him, not only just in this game against Vanderbilt and, maybe with some rainy weather, but his role in the offense moving forward.
Yeah, he's run it well. He's a guy that has proven that he can be a workhorse at running back, and then rotate in the other guys. I really liked our run attack at Florida. I thought we did some good things. The drop balls killed the momentum of drives, but all in all, I really have been impressed with the offense. I think that if the weather were to get sloppy up there, that a running attack of our capabilities, in my opinion, I think would suit us better than Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's a team where we just have their number for whatever reason, and I fully expect them to go win regardless of the weather. Colin Hill's a big guy, probably has big hands, big enough to throw a wet ball, you'd think. But obviously it wouldn't matter if you can't catch a dry ball, so he ain't going to catch a wet one.
Yeah.
So offensively we should be okay, but
good point.
I don't want to laugh.
Know, man. You're asking, you're asking questions of like, listen, there hasn't been a whole lot that's been very impressive. We just got to win the damn game. Yep. Whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
Whatever. If it's a 13-10, if it's a 3-0, I don't care. You just got to win to get some confidence, because you can't afford a loss. And obviously I'm going to take South Carolina over Vanderbilt, but listen, I'm not in the building. I don't know what the locker room feels like. I don't know the aroma of the team right now, but hopefully it's a lot better than what it seems.
Yeah, it's been a tough sled to start the season, no doubt, at 0-2, and I agree with you 100%, Perry. This is probably the most important game. It is the most important game of Will Muschamp's tenure at South Carolina, and hopefully it's a win. And when you look at the rest of the schedule, we'll leave it on a positive note here. When you look at the rest of the schedule, I mentioned to Darren just a little while ago, Carolina is capable of losing every game on this schedule. They're also capable of winning every game on this schedule, because I haven't seen anything out of the remaining 8 teams that says, that team is unbeatable. That goes for Auburn, LSU, A&M, Georgia, all of them. I think maybe the scariest game on there might be at Ole Miss, Perry, to be honest with you. But I think Carolina can turn it around. They just need to get back down the other side of the mountain and get some speed, get some momentum on this season.
Yeah, no, the only team I definitely right now, we did it last year, but that Georgia team looked pretty good Saturday night. Not to be the negative naysayer, but they looked pretty daunting. But I agree, there wasn't a whole lot of other impressive teams on the schedule as far as, you can definitely, without a doubt, chart that down as a loss. I agree with you. The team has talent. They've got playmakers. I think receivers catching the football, which should be, a pretty simple fix, hopefully, to continue to leave the offense on the field. Defense still got to tackle better, but they've got players. So, as us Gamecock faithful like to be, we like to be optimistic about our Gamecocks. So we'll see what they got.
Let me ask you this before we let you go here real quick. You talked about Georgia, how impressive they looked. Break down Stetson Bennett, a guy who probably 98% of college football fans have never heard of until 2 weeks ago, and now he goes out and looks like a world beater.
Yeah, he's got a good arm, and he's athletic, seems smart, and at Georgia, that's all you need to be. You don't need to be a world beater. You don't need to be a freak of nature to go out and win games at quarterback for Georgia. You got to go out and be smart, make great decisions, and move the chains, and he can do that. He's athletic. He throws a good ball. He's accurate. There's nothing that jumps off the screen about his play, but besides the fact that he seems extremely smart and his teammates seem to love him. And as a quarterback, if you got your guys around you that want to go to bat for you, listen, just be a point guard. Get out there and distribute the ball. Let your playmakers go. And Georgia's obviously got 2 of the best receivers in the country, a stable full of backs, and probably the best offensive line. So, sometimes you just got to go and do the simple stuff. Don't do more than you need to, and hand the ball off, and you'll be all right.
I tell you what, I'll be honest with you. Stetson Bennett actually reminds me a lot of Perry when Perry played.
Oh.
No, I don't think he's as good as you were, but he reminds me of you.
No, I wasn't saying that. The game I saw Saturday night, man, he looked pretty daggone good.
You were you were good. You weren't bad. You were a good quarterback. It just happened to be a tough time in the program. Don't sell yourself short. You know better than that.
Oh, I'm not saying I was bad. I'm just saying that I would agree. There are a lot of similarities there. I'll tell you this. I'd love to be able to turn around and hand the ball off like they do.
Yeah.
Oh
boy, that's a.
Speaking for that team, I'd have loved to have a defense to go out and hold Auburn 6 points. That would be the one thing that I would have loved the most.
Yeah. No, you just missed it because that 11-12 defense, they could do it. No doubt about that.
Yeah, that's what I heard, man, and that's what I, in high school grew up watching. Kind of figured out, hey, I go to South Carolina, I don't even have to be that good. We'll go out and make plays, and like you said, stepped in at the wrong time.
IMGSC.com. That's where Perry is. If you need insurance, whether it's business or whether it's personal, whatever it may be, IMGSC.com. For your insurance needs. And if you need to train a quarterback, QB1Athletics.com. That's where you can find Perry and the whole staff. Bailey Hart down here in the Low Country as well. QB1Athletics.com. And, of course, Perry, I know that you've been coaching them up over there at AC Flora. I think didn't y'all scored a bunch of points last Friday, didn't you?
Yeah, yep. We Richland Northeast, they're struggling a little bit right now, but we scored 42 in the first quarter.
There you go.
Our quarterback was Ethan Beamish, a rising senior. He's pretty talented, man, pretty good kid. He was 8 of 10 for 291 and 5 touchdowns at the end of quarter one.
Oh my God!
And we were letting it ride. I know Coach Spurrier, wherever he was Friday night, had to have had a smile. I put in about 3 of his ball plays that he used to call for us, and actually all 3 went for touchdowns. I didn't call them. I just helped put them in. Offensive coordinator called them, and we were letting it rip a little bit. And so now that we've shown success with some of that stuff, we're expecting to call a few more of his ball plays. So next time I see him, I'll be sure to appreciate the playbook.
All right, well, nice call there, Perry. Next time I want to throw it to that guy. That guy's open over there. You want to throw it to him? Yeah.
He'll have a comment and he'll tell me something like, yeah, I always knew you'd be a better coach than a player.
Yeah. Perfect. Absolutely. Yeah, well, Perry, the second part of your life is working out a lot better than that first part there. But anyway, let's go grab us a cold Coors Light somewhere. All right, man. Hey, thank you so much. Hopefully when we talk to you next week, win 1 will be in the books for Carolina.
Yep, no doubt. Appreciate it, guys. See
you got it. There you go. Former quarterback at Carolina. Perry Orth. All right, we got to hit a break. When we return, Gene Sapikoff, he'll join us from the Post and Courier, the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. We'll be right back.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. Every 2020 Tiguan S, our best-selling third-row SUV, is $3,500 off plus 0 APR for 72 months. But wait, there's more. With $299 down, you can own the Tiguan S for just $299 per month for 72 months at 0% APR. Not just one at this price, over 22 Tiguans to choose from. All $3,500 off plus 0 APR for 72 months and $299 down, $299 per month. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, we are so desperate for used cars that we'll take any trade in any condition, running or not. We need your trade more, so we'll flat out give you more. And don't worry about your credit. Our lenders are more lenient than ever. So if you're interested in saving $3,500 on a new Volkswagen Tiguan S and owning it for $299 down, $299 per month, come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or StokesVW.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Plus tax tag includes $399.50 closing fee. Offer subject to lender approval. Expires month end.
The best cheesesteak in Charleston is at DB's Cheesesteaks. JB here. We say it every day, and we mean it. You voted for them. Let DB's Cheesesteaks in Avondale and West Ashley feed your family this football season. Use your favorite delivery app. Have them dropped off before your favorite game. And don't forget the boardwalk fries. They come with the Old Bay seasoning. DB'sCheesesteaks.com for the full menu. Hoagies, hot dogs, burgers, and more. DB's Cheesesteaks, the best cheesesteak in Charleston, the best cheesesteak for football.
Hey guys, it's Darren, just here to tell you about our good friends over at Dog and Duck. They've got 3 locations, one in Bell Hall, one in Park West, and one, the new one, out on Clements Ferry. I can tell you from personal experience, it's the only restaurant in town that I've been to since this whole place has reopened. Everything is socially distant, very comfortable, and to top it all off, great selection of rotating craft beers, food specials every day, family meals. If you don't want to go in, you can order it and have some curbside pickup as well. Dog and Duck, 3 locations, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is former Gamecock quarterback Perry Orth, and you're listening to my friends JB and Goldwater.
136. Welcome back. Well, you like football? You want to play football? If you don't like, let me know. We'll put the next guy in there. Oh God, maybe we should do a whole show in Coach Spurrier voices.
You could pull that off. I don't know if I could. You know what we do need to do though? We need to get Brad Franco from Channel 2 and his Lou Holtz impersonation. I haven't heard it in a while, but
this is the second person that's told me this.
Strong, really, really good. So he can sit in my chair, and he can be Holtz, and you can be Spurrier. I mean, we'll just have a show.
Could you imagine? Oh, gosh. Maybe we'll do that over a cheesesteak from DB's, dbscheesesteaks.com. And they deliver all the delivery apps. Voted number 1, Charleston's Choice, DB's Cheesesteaks in Avondale and West Ashley. Don't forget the boardwalk fries. That's what we always tell you about DB's. All right. We don't want to forget about Gene Sapagoff. We're a little late getting to him today, but we're happy he's back from vacation and back into this whole football thing. Hey, man.
And by the way, Brad Franco does such a good Lou Holtz impression that I know people who do impressions of Brad Franco doing Lou Holtz.
He might be out of practice. I don't know the last time he actually did it, but yeah, it's strong.
It's like riding a bike. He knows how to do it.
Yeah, is this like he'll just do it, or you got to get him a drink or something, or no, he'll just do it?
Oh no, he just slips into it. You know, he's in the grocery store line. He becomes Lou Holtz. You never know.
Sounds like one of those Snickers right there.
Yeah, he's better than that.
No, yeah, well, I can do Spurrier. That's all I can do. All right, Gene, we'll come back to Carolina here in a little bit. But first of all, glad to have you back. Did you have a good vacation?
Well, it was just a few days hiking around the mountains of Tennessee, but yeah, it was fun.
Oh, well, you should have stayed up there. Carolina's headed to Nashville.
Yeah, but I heard it might rain. I don't know.
Yeah, you might be hiking through Delta, I think is the name of the hurricane. Gene, but this weekend in the upstate, for the first time in quite some time, a very good ACC opponent, it appears, will be entering Death Valley with the hopes of pulling a major upset. We spoke to Josh Pate earlier, and I mentioned to Josh that I think, Gene, and correct me if I'm wrong if I've missed one between this period of time, but I think the last time there was a major ACC opponent with a really talented offense who could come in and score some points and maybe be able to upset the Tigers was back in 2016 with Lamar Jackson and the Louisville Cardinals. I know a couple games since then, they've had Auburn and A&M, but obviously those are SEC guys that were going to be big-time matchups. But that's the last game I truly remember where there was an ACC opponent. Have there been any since then?
Well, there have been some close games that they've had. But, yeah, as far as the build-up and a really good team and obviously just star power on the field, there's no doubt that was the last one. I'm not sure this can live up to that with a last-second tackle and a future NFL MVP playing quarterback. But, yeah, this is really good for the ACC. They've needed this for a long time. And I think this bodes well for the future, too. I think Manny Diaz has really got things going there at Miami, and I would just like to see Clemson and Miami play more in the regular season.
If Miami beats Clemson, how does it make Clemson and the ACC better in the years to come?
For one thing, it just adds legitimacy to the ACC. The ACC coaches have been saying that for a while, but let's face it, guys, the ACC was just gosh awful last year. In fact, as I pointed out in a column today, I mean, the Sagarin ratings had them below the American Athletic Conference after last season. Phil Steele, the great analyst, had them below the American Athletic Conference, and so that's not where you want to be if you're a Power Five. So this adds legitimacy. And right now, guys, it's not just Miami, North Carolina, Virginia Tech playing really well, and of course, Notre Dame with an asterisk as an ACC team is contributing too.
Yeah, for the first time in the history of the conference, for the first time in the history of the AP poll, the conference has 4 teams in the top 10. Now, obviously, Notre Dame is a one-year member, but it still counts. And they got 4 of them up there in Miami. So.
Yeah, it counts, and there's, weirdness to it that the Pac-12 and, Big Ten haven't started to play yet. But still, I mean, I don't think this is a surprise, and this is one of the reasons the ACC was really, really strong about playing football this year. They knew that with Sam Howell and some really good skill guys at North Carolina, the Tar Heels were going to be good. I think Virginia Tech expected to bounce back some. Louisville's pretty good. NC State's pretty good. And then Miami. I mean, the disappointment still is Florida State. But, the ACC is not the SEC. I don't think it ever will be, but it's making strides.
All right, Gene, we're obviously all keeping our eyes on the weather here to see what type of rain is headed to the upstate on Saturday. There's expected that this hurricane will hit somewhere around the border of Louisiana and maybe Mississippi. We'll see if it wobbles a little bit, but then kind of make its way up and east, and that would take it across the South, Clemson area, North Carolina, Virginia, all those areas could be impacted with rain, not 40, 50 plus mile an hour winds or anything like that. If that is the case, does that favor one team over the other? And I'm going to add one quick tidbit to this. Obviously, everybody knows about Derek King as a dual-threat quarterback. Clemson, of course, saw Brennan Armstrong last week. That probably helped them prepare a little bit. But Cameron Harris comes in averaging about 104 yards a game as well in the backfield for Miami. He didn't have a big game against Florida State, but they didn't need him to. But both teams here have pretty good duos at the running back quarterback position.
Yeah, it would be weird to say that the Hurricanes would be at a disadvantage in a hurricane, but I think no real advantage to either team. I mean, Clemson has Travis Etienne and all kinds of weapons on offense, and they have, pretty good guys on defense that I think are going to be able to at least somewhat contain Miami's really impressive attack. I mean, they had 85 plays that they ran in that 52-10 win against Florida State the last time they played, which was 2 weeks ago. But, I'll tell you, I think that Miami probably would have benefited from playing and not having a bye week because they just had such momentum, especially on offense, coming off 47, I think, against Louisville, then 52 against Florida State. And, they got to take a little bit of a break. Now they have to be a little concerned about the weather, whereas Clemson, I'm telling you, Brent Venables was kicking some butt and is kicking some butt in practice this week after what went down against Virginia. And nothing against Virginia. I mean, Bronco Mendenhall is just a really good coach. As the Clemson players said, James Skalski, the linebacker, and others, they really make you think. So, I mean, I think that was exactly the kind of game Clemson needed to get ready for what is maybe going to be the toughest game on their schedule. I don't know. I know they play at Notre Dame, but this might be it.
You know what? I agree with you. I mean, we talked. Who did we talk to yesterday? Reggie Merriweather. We talked to Reggie yesterday about this. At 41-23, I mean, Clemson was 4 touchdown favorites going into the game, and that might have been exactly what they needed. And the fact that Virginia was able to come in and frustrate them at certain points, but obviously Clemson was still in control of the football game. But it wasn't a quote Clemson win that we're used to seeing these days. So what have they been working on? Do you think? What did you see coming out of that ball game against the Wahoos that does need to be cleaned up before they play Miami?
Covering tight ends, pretty much working together on the defensive line with a lot of their stunts and so forth. Now, remember, Tyler Davis was out of the game. He is expected to be back and playing. He's Clemson's best defensive lineman, which is a mouthful because even just freshmen Brian Brzee and Miles Murphy are just terrific guys, plus everybody else they have now, it's Pinckney, et cetera. But I think it's just what they've been talking about is getting these guys to play together. There's a lot of new starters, and they're just kind of learning a lot of things about cohesion and mesh. But you know what? So is Miami because they have 7 new starters. So I think they're going to clean some things up on defense too. And, yeah, it's a 14-point spread, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if this comes down to a 1-score game.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty simple question that a lot of people are asking, but is that Miami defense good enough to be able to stop this or at least slow down this Clemson offense?
Actually, I think they're not yet good enough. I think they're still a little young. This is a big spot for them. It's the first time they've been in a game like this. And this is a team that lost 14-0 in the Independence Bowl last year. So I think that Clemson gets them this time, but this is something that Miami can build on. And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the first of 2 Miami-Clemson games this year. Obviously, with the no divisional situation, Clemson's going to play Notre Dame or Miami or North Carolina in Charlotte. Should Clemson finish first or second, which I think they probably will. And so we could have a rematch of this or Clemson-Notre Dame, something like that. And, of course, I'm not counting out the Tar Heels.
Trevor Lawrence in his career against top 10 teams back in 2018, 27 of 39 for 327 and 3 touchdowns against Notre Dame. 20 of 32 in that blowout win over Alabama for 347 and 3 touchdowns. And then last year in 2019, a little bit less efficient in the postseason against second-ranked Ohio State. He was 18 of 33 for 259, although he didn't throw a pick, and he did have 2 touchdowns, but only about 55% of his passes were completed. And then against LSU, it was a struggle, 18 of 37 for 234. No picks either, no touchdowns in that ball game, though. He's never thrown a pick against top 10 teams. But those 4 defenses that he saw in those 4 games, they're all a step above what you think Miami will present on Saturday, right? Or maybe with the exception of Notre Dame, but maybe not.
Yeah, I think so. Notre Dame's probably going to be the toughest assignment, and partly because it's in South Bend, and perhaps it's going to be in weird weather. But the thing about Trevor Lawrence and about Travis Etienne is when you try to contain them to their conventional strengths, running for Etienne, passing for Lawrence. Hey, watch Trevor Lawrence take off for a touchdown run against Ohio State, and watch Travis Etienne score touchdowns catching the ball against Ohio State and really have a great receiving game just Saturday night against Virginia. The versatility is what just has to drive defensive coordinators absolutely nuts against Clemson, because you have to try to take Etienne running the ball away. That's what you have to do first. And when you do that and you have receivers running free and you allow Trevor Lawrence to scoot around the corner and run, bad things are going to happen for Clemson's opponent.
Can't wait for this game. Game day will be there. Gene Sapikoff on Twitter, at Sapikoff, Post and Courier. All right, to Columbia we go, where things aren't as rosy at all. They're thorny, though. Carolina 0-2. What does this game right here, Perry Orth just said this is the most important game in the era of Will Muschamp. What do you think about that comment?
It's funny because Perry Orth started, I believe, in Will Muschamp's first game and got a win at Vanderbilt. But yeah, it's interesting. If you were to told me a week ago this time, hey, the Gamecocks are going to go down to Gainesville against the number 3 team in the country, and they are every bit of that, and they're going to lose by 14. I mean, and trying to score there at the end, you would have thought, wow, that's rosy. Everybody's going to be pretty happy about that momentum moving forward. And yet all this complaining and garbage about the 7-23-18 play, pointless drive. And not just that, guys. Man, were they moving slow in the third quarter in that drive that set up Parker White's field goal. And I think there's just some fundamental clock management problems in that program. So what we have here is, what Perry Orth said, but also this is the earliest must-win game I've seen in probably covering college football in like about 35 years. I mean, they can't lose this game. If they do, I mean, I think Will Muschamp is probably out. I don't mean next week out, but they're going to start looking for a new coach because you just can't lose to Vanderbilt.
Well, I mean, this is it's Gene, Darren and I have exhausted this conversation over 2 days. It's not about the losses. It's about how they've lost the game. The consistent drops. And Gene, how about this? Let me just let's take you back to December of 2015 when Will Muschamp was hired. Did you think that in 2020 we would be questioning the defense of the Gamecocks?
No, I mean, and that's something that last year too was weird, and that's one thing with Will Muschamp that had been consistent up until just recently is the defense. But it's always been kind of, hey, he's a defensive coordinator who happens to be a head coach, and that explains the offensive woes. But if you're also going to have problems on defense, tackling. Wow, Will Muschamp, a former safety at Georgia, just a tough guy, great defensive coordinator, no doubt about that. National championship defensive coordinator, LSU, Texas, Auburn, etc. They shouldn't have trouble tackling. That's just ridiculously puzzling.
All right. But with the tackling, see, that's the thing that bugs me the most, because when you watch, it's not just that they're missing tackles, and we talked about this. I mean, tackling is a want-to type of thing. I mean, you got to forcefully get the guy to the ground, not just bump into him. But it's not only missing tackles. It's out of position. It's overrunning plays. It's looking like you're not trying. And I'm not saying they're not. I'm sure they are. But the perception of almost being lackadaisical at times on defense. I mean, that's just puzzling to me.
Well, I'm going to do something I usually don't do, and that's defend Will Muschamp in a couple ways here. In the 9-win season that they had his second year, which, was 2017, they really did well in the turnover margin. And I think what has happened the last few years is that they have worked too hard at trying to create turnovers, taking weird angles and, trying to strip the ball when they should be trying to make fundamental tackling and so forth. So, I mean, that needs to get corrected, even as Muschamp says right now. In fact, he said today on the conference call, we have to have more turnovers. They were pretty pleased with that in fall camp, the way that was going. But, I don't know. That could contribute to the tackling woes. And then the other thing is, let's face it, they just didn't have a spring practice. So fall camp was their spring practice. They're behind in fundamentals. Yeah, that's an excuse. You just have to say, though, that, hey, every other team pretty much is in the same position.
Yeah. I'll ask you one final one here. Then I want to get to some baseball with you. But and I'm sure this is one I think I know what his response is going to be here. Will's not going to talk about injuries the rest of the year, Gene. Good or bad decision?
That's Saban-like, Belichick-like. That's where all that comes from. I mean, I'm not surprised. And, I just have become too sarcastic or jaded to really worry about that too much. I mean, whatever, Yeah. I mean, that's just Will Muschamp being Nick Saban's protege. So that's the way it is. Of course, I'd like to see that. I've written for many years that I would like to see college football mandate a uniform injury report, and mostly for the purpose of gambling, I'm not saying pro gambling, but it prevents insiders from getting information. That's why they do that in the NFL. So some guy that happened to get to go to practice doesn't leak information on injuries, and I think college football badly needs that, especially as DraftKings and Caesars and all these people are getting into the mainstream of sports.
All right. We're just a few minutes away from the first pitch of the Marlins and the Braves. Sandy Alcantara will go for Miami, and, of course, Max Fried will take the bump for the Atlanta Braves in their quest to get to the World Series here in a shortened 2020 season. What do you think about this matchup? Two prime candidates for Manager of the Year in the National League as well.
I think it's fascinating. I mean, I thought the Marlins would be here. I expected the Braves to be here. I think they'll be in the NLCS. I think Freddie Freeman or Mookie Betts is your National League MVP, and I think Max Fried deserves to be the Cy Young winner. He has had a hell of a season, and just in the analytics stuff there's no National League pitcher better than him in WAR, and I like the Braves in this series, but I like Don Mattingly as Manager of the Year because I think most people left the Marlins for last place in this division at the start of the season.
Yeah, they certainly did.
Yeah, at the start of the season and then 2 days into the season when they didn't have anyone on their roster who was healthy. And yet they're still here.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, what a story. I mean, it's just a heck of a story. I don't know how good they'll be next year, but this is fun for them this year.
Hey, you don't have to worry about next year. Ask the Nationals. It was still fun last year, despite what happened this year.
Absolutely.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I think we should keep our eyes on both the Yankees and the Astros. Obviously, I know they both won Game 1 yesterday, but these are two teams that know how to win in the postseason. Gene, I have a gut feeling it'll be one of them, certainly in the World Series, against either. I don't know. I don't want to count out San Diego just yet, but I do think the Braves have a great chance to get to the World Series.
Yeah, the cool thing with the Yankees is all those ex-River Dogs. They've never had, a bunch of ex-River Dogs on a World Series team, including this kid, David Garcia, that's going to start tonight against the Rays. He's just 21. 2 years ago, he pitched for the River Dogs at 19 years old. So that's just kind of cool. And, of course, Judge and Sanchez and all the other guys.
Yeah, fascinating to watch.
I'll give you this about the Padres. Clevenger is on the roster. He is starting tonight for the Padres.
Oh, that's huge for them.
Yes.
That is amazing. That is really going to be interesting. I mean, they went obviously all in on him just for this reason, but he's been up and down.
Yeah, and that game being played in Arlington, Texas. as well. Wow.
Of course.
Well, at the start of the year, I think I told you guys the World Series also is going to run through Arlington, Texas, and it turns out that I'm going to be right.
You're right. You were spot on, no doubt.
It's a nice stadium.
Gene, thank you so much. It's a great week for sports. Hopefully this hurricane, maybe a miracle happens or something like that, and it doesn't affect too many football games. We'll keep our eyes on it. And as always, we'll keep our eyes on the Post-Courier. All week long last week, or not all week, but as soon as it came out every day, Darren and I were promoting the column you wrote about Garrett Chisholm. Great piece, my friend. Well done.
Thanks, and what a fine young man.
Yeah, absolutely. Gene, thank you so much. Good to hear from you again.
Okay, thank you, guys.
There you go, Gene Sapkoff on Twitter @Sapkoff. Real quick, HolyCityDriveIn.com for this weekend's drive-in movie series Scream. Coming up on Friday. Scream, yes, that's Scream. Scream on Friday, and on Saturday, Family Night, Hotel Transylvania, if you'd like to get over there and check it out. Double it up next Friday. Ooh, scary Friday. Over at the Holy City Drive-In movie series at Patriots Point, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then immediately following A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Wow. Love Nightmare on Elm Street.
Hell, yeah.
Used to love it. Yep.
What day is today on the Handy Dandy National Day calendar? It is National German American Day. If you know any Germans out there.
I do. In fact, the favorite bartender, and I'm not going to get in trouble by saying this, but the day bartender, Jess, is a German American over at Dog and Duck in Bell Hall.
Well, it's her
Go
day.
see her.
Maybe she'll enjoy a noodle because it's National Noodle Day.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's also, for Les Miles, happy National Mad Hatter Day.
Is it?
Yep.
Mad Hatter.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's National Fruit at Work Day. Don't head to work without packing some fruit. It's National Orange Wine Day. Ugh.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Nothing orange goes in your house, I know. So.
National Plus Size Appreciation Day.
Okay.
All right. And give your favorite coach a call. National Coaches Day.
Yeah.
So if you got a great coach out there that you played for, give him a shout. Tell him you love him. Or if there's just a coach you just really appreciate, maybe stalk him and look him up and give him a shout. Well,
or talk like him. Or call your favorite coach and mock him to his face.
I think I'm going to celebrate National Coaches Day with a Coors Light down here. All right. Well, yeah, Perry, you throw the football. Oh, man. We're all but out of time.
We did not get in the idea of the Texans firing Bill O'Brien and the possibility of Dabo going there.
Yeah.
Apparently, Dabo had a pretty fiery response to that at his press conference.
He did, yeah.
He's not going there.
We will get to we'll touch on it tomorrow. But we won't be able to spend much time on that today. Also, if you haven't checked, the slate of games this weekend is really good, starting at noon. Florida, 4th-ranked Florida at 21st-ranked A&M, 19th-ranked Virginia Tech at 8th-ranked North Carolina, 22nd-ranked Texas and Oklahoma. We'll see. How about Coastal at Louisiana? That game maybe could be moved somewhere, but that's at noon. And then obviously you got Carolina and Vanderbilt. Nobody cares about that game unless you're a Vanderbilt or a Carolina fan. It's trying to get their first win of the season. That rolls into Tennessee and Georgia at 3:30. The Dogs and Army, we'll talk more about this game in the next couple of days at 1:30 on the CBS Sports Network. And then, of course, that night, you got Miami and Clemson, amongst others. So Alabama at Ole Miss, we'll see if that game is able to be played. But, hey, Saban going to Kiffin.
Get played, yeah.
Ooh. Let's see.
Saban's never lost to a former assistant.
No, he hasn't. He won't this week either. But the points could be a lot of points in this game.
Yes, could be.
All right, thanks to Josh Pate, Perry Orth, and Gene Sapkoff, and to Darren Goldwater, as always.
Thank you, man.
Thanks to all of you for watching and listening to our program today. Stay dry. Have a terrific Tuesday afternoon. And thanks for watching the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. We'll see you tomorrow with JC Sherbert at noon.